Steve Martin and John Candy just met.
Hallelujah.
They have nothing in common except the next 72 hours.
Are you mad at me?
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Rated R. Now playing at a theater near you.
I am not somebody that counts Planes, Trains, and Automobiles as a Christmas movie, although I've seen a lot of promotional material that would say otherwise. Although I think that's more so because it's easier to sell a Christmas movie than a Thanksgiving movie. But just because it's the holiday season and I want to talk about it, I'm going to talk about it. But I love Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Blah, blah, blah. I love Planes, Trains, and Automobiles just as much as the next 6-year-old man that also loves the movies as much as I do. I think it's a great holiday movie.
Do you think so?
Hey, John Hughes, who directed and wrote this movie, is incredible. I mean, 15,000 people have already said that before me, but still. Hughes has a really great talent at making small, personal, familial stories so much more grand and nostalgic and important on a film scale. It's so incredible. I mean, you could see just some of the movies that he's created right here. And this movie is very simple. It is about a man, played by Steve Martin, trying to get home for Thanksgiving, but can't due to the world being against him for some reason, and John Candy is along for the ride. It's great. Again, simple story. Man wants to get home. It's such a reasonable and understandable problem that we've all faced in our lifetime, and so when it's on screen, it's so easy. Is that Kevin Bacon? That's Kevin Bacon. That's Kevin Bacon. Yeah, the wife is watching a Kevin Bacon movie later in the movie. So that's like the character and actor. That's Kevin Bacon. Bravo. I already mentioned it, but Steve Martin and John Candy star in this movie, and to me, it's the perfect pairing. Comedy legends. I'm so happy that we got to see John Candy do what he does best in movies like Uncle Buck, Great Outdoors, other movies that aren't coming to mind right now because I'm still thinking about Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. And I'm so happy that Steve Martin is still working today. Incredibly so, especially in Only Murders in the Building. I love that show. Like, there's so many small parts about this movie that just shows how brilliant the filmmaking process was. Instead of just showing a clip earlier of when Steve Martin got his cab stolen by John Candy, which is a very stereotypical film thing to do, which isn't a bad thing. But the movie decides, let's go the extra step. Let's literally show Steve Martin's thought process in the moment. So we see John Candy in the airport in the cab. It's a very blink and you'll miss it moment, but you understand everything just by Steve Martin's body language. And that happens throughout the film. You could tell what a lot of characters are thinking just by simply looking at how they feel. It's so great. The writing is so I'm envious. And there's also a lot of pretty iconic moments in this movie too.
Oh, that feels good. Oh, God, I'm telling you.
By the way, you know, when you're telling these little stories, here's a good idea. Have a point. It makes it so much more interesting for the listener.
Everything's booked solid, but they said I have a good chance of getting on standby.
And if they told you Wolverines would make good house pets, would you believe them?
Get out of here! What is your problem? You insensitive asshole!
Oh, boy.
Oh boy, what?
Between these hilarious and relatable gags throughout the movie, we get hints of each other's backstory and personal story, and it just adds so many more layers to this already beautiful story. Another thing that the writing does really well at the beginning is that they have these two characters, which as an audience, we all know that they're gonna blow up. They're gonna have this big fight. But they have this big fight probably like 30 minutes into the movie. It happens very quickly, and now all of a sudden, as an audience member, you're like, I'm loving where this is going, but where is this going now? I don't know. The stereotype of what a comedy movie is, where two people have to work together and they don't like each other or whatever, collides and explodes in this brilliant twist. you never saw it coming. There's so many more things that I want to shout out. The set designs, the sound, the music, everything is really amazing, and it works so perfectly to make this brilliant Thanksgiving movie. And I mean, you totally feel Steve Martin's frustrations, because for an hour and a half, you understand that this man's been trying to get home for 3 days and just can't. Also, I'm pretty sure this cop is pulling them over only because he's afraid that
he defecated through a sunroof.
As an audience member, you truly get desperate enough to see these two make it to their destinations, and when they finally do, it's so heartbreaking to see them split up again. And I think that's a real testament to the movie's writing and the acting and the performances and the direction and all that stuff. And then when you finally do realize as an audience member just exactly what John Candy is doing on this trip, God, that's a gut punch and a half. And so it is so special when Steve Martin runs back to him as if it's like a rom-com to the train station, and then those two walk home together. Gosh, what a lovely classic holiday movie. There's an end credits scene? I know it's a classic, I know it's a very simple movie, and you kind of get the idea just from knowing what it's about, but it's truly something special to experience. So I highly recommend Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Mwah. Brilliant movie. I mean, I'm not the only one that said it. 500 billion people before me have said it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time. Christmas magic! Again.